Rhea Calder realized her wedding was a scam when she found the second bride hiding behind the wine barrels. Not metaphorically, not emotionally, physically. The girl popped up clutching a bouquet like a hostage negotiator and said, "Oh, sorry, I'm the backup Omega." The hall went silent. Rhea blinked once, twice. Then she turned slowly, dangerously slowly, toward the groom. "Backup," she repeated. "Like, spare tire backup? Emergency rations backup? Or in case the first one develops standards backup?" Her fiancé, formerly the love of her life, currently a dead man walking, laughed nervously. "Now, Rhea, you're misunderstanding." She grabbed the ceremonial table and flipped it hard enough to rewrite history. Plates shattered. Meat flew. A loaf of bread took out an elder at the knees. The musicians stopped mid-note. Someone screamed. Someone cheered. One of the wolves applauded. Rhea climbed onto the overturned table like it was a battlefield altar. "Let's all clarify," she announced, pointing wildly. "You," at the groom. "You," at the backup Omega. And "you," at the elders who suddenly found the ceiling fascinating. "Which one of you idiots thought I'd marry into a subscription-based mating plan?" An elder cleared his throat. "The council approved the contingency." She hurled a goblet of wine at his face. It hit, dead center. Red dripped down his beard. "Oh, good," Rhea said. "You bleed. I was worried you'd evolved past consequences." The groom tried to grab her arm. She bit him, hard. While he screamed, she yanked the marriage contract off the officiant's stand, grabbed a ceremonial blade, and signed the annulment in blood. Hers. His. But no one was keeping track anymore. "Non-refundable dowry?" she shouted. "Keep it. Buy morals." She ripped the engagement necklace off her throat and flung it into the crowd. It bounced off a noblewoman's forehead and disappeared forever, like dignity in that room. Rhea leapt down, skirts torn, bodice crooked, veil halfway on fire, and stormed for the exit. "If any of you follow me," she screamed over her shoulder, "I will ruin your lineage so bad your descendants will apologize to me in their dreams." She burst through the doors, sprinted into the sunlight, and took off across the hills, barefoot, feral, wedding dress flapping behind her like a warning flag. Before we continue, subscribe? Because if you don't, Rhea will come back, find you personally, and flip your dinner table while explaining ancient pack law at full volume. Like, or subscribe, or the backup Omega moves in with you. Your choice. Rhea ran until her lungs burned, and her rage turned sharp and focused. Good. She liked it sharp. Behind her, horns began to sound. She laughed. "Let them come," she yelled at the sky. "I'm not done yet." She didn't know she was sprinting straight toward Alpha territory. She didn't know ancient emergency laws were about to wake up. She didn't know she was about to ruin the most powerful man in the realm. But she did know one thing. This wedding was canceled. Rhea collapsed face first into the grass while still yelling. "I don't even like weddings," she gasped, dragging herself forward on her elbows. "Who decided flowers were legally binding?" The ground beneath her was soft. Too soft. Suspiciously well kept. She squinted at the land. Blink, blink. "Oh," she muttered, "but this looks expensive." Behind her the horns sounded. Not wedding horns, not warning horns. Territorial horns. Deep, ancient, loud enough to make the earth feel personally offended. Rhea froze. "No," she said calmly. No, absolutely not." The grass beneath her feet lit up with glowing runes. Runes. She stared down at them. "Wow," she whispered. "I really need to start reading signs before stepping on them." The runes flared brighter. Somewhere far away, something answered. Rhea scrambled upright just as armored guards burst from the tree line, weapons raised, eyes wide with panic. "She triggered it," one shouted. "Is she bleeding?" another yelled. "I think she's bleeding." Rhea looked down at her hands. Blood. From the blade. From the bite. From, honestly, several sources. Oh, she said. Or that's probably not ideal. The ground thundered. The air snapped tight like a pulled bowstring. A third voice, much higher pitched, screeched, "Emergency pack law activated." Silence. Then, "Claim!" someone screamed. Rhea spun in a slow circle. Sorry. What? The runes shot up her legs like lightning, warm, solid, possessive. Rhea yelped and slapped at her thigh. Nope, I did not consent to whatever this is. The guards dropped to one knee in perfect formation. One of them looked like he might cry. By blood, by land, by distress, he whispered reverently. The Alpha has been invoked. Rhea stared at him. Can I invoke a refund? Another horn blasted, closer this time. Banners began unfurling themselves out of absolutely nowhere. Rhea backed up, tripped over her dress, and landed on her butt. Okay, she said loudly. I'd like to unsubscribe from whatever cult this is. No one laughed. That's when she knew she was in trouble. A captain stepped forward, face pale. Miss, he said carefully, you crossed into Alpha King territory while injured, panicked, and emotionally volatile. Rhea squinted. So, Tuesday. You invoked an ancient sanctuary claim. Unsubscribe. It cannot be undone. I'd like to speak to management. The runes flared again. Somewhere deep in the land, something woke up. The guards stiffened. Oh gods, someone whispered. He's going to feel that. Rhea swallowed. Feel what? The captain looked at her with pure, doomed sympathy. You. Before this gets worse, subscribe. Because if you don't, the ancient laws activate again. And you'll wake up legally bound to a 7-foot alpha with unresolved emotional issues and no sense of humor. Like, subscribe. Or the runes choose you next. The ground shook once, twice. Then the bond locked. Rhea felt it, heavy, solid, undeniable, like a door slamming shut behind her. She exhaled slowly. Wow, she said. Today is really committed to ruining my life. Far away, a very powerful man stopped mid-step, and for the first time in years, Alpha King Darius Blackmore felt something touch his land. Alpha King Darius Blackmore woke up because his floor was vibrating, not metaphorically, literally. His eyes snapped open as horns blasted outside his chambers, deep, triumphant, the kind usually reserved for declarations of war or royal births. He lay there for one perfect, fragile second. Then he said, very calmly, "What did you idiots break?" The doors burst open, his council flooded in and immediately knelt, every single one of them. Darius sat up. "Why are you kneeling?" he asked carefully, like a man approaching a wild animal. No one answered. Banners unfurled outside his windows, massive, regal, mating banners. Darius stared at them. Slowly. "Oh," he said. "No." The head counselor swallowed. "Your Majesty, I said no," Darius repeated. "That was not rhetorical." "You've been claimed," another counselor whispered reverently. Darius swung his legs off the bed and stood. "By who?" he demanded. "And where's the body?" Silence. Then, timidly, "By you, sire." The room went very still. Darius laughed once. It came out wrong. "That's not how claims work," he said. "I didn't invoke anything. I didn't touch anyone. I didn't—" "You were invoked," the head counselor said. "Emergency sanctuary law, blood, distress, territory breach." Darius closed his eyes. "I was asleep." "The land does not care." Darius opened his eyes. "That is an unacceptable sentence." A younger counselor, too young, too hopeful, spoke up. "The claim has already been announced to the realm." Darius turned slowly. "Announced," he echoed. "Yes, sire." The horns sounded. The banners rose. The bond locked. Something in his chest shifted. Heavy. Unwelcome. Familiar in the way a disaster feels familiar 5 seconds before it hits. "Where is she?" Darius asked. The council hesitated. That was not encouraging. "She's," someone said carefully, "in the kitchen." Darius stalked down the halls like a man headed for an execution. Possibly his own. The kitchen doors were open. His kitchen. On sacred ground. He stepped inside and froze. A woman in a torn wedding dress sat on his counter. Barefoot, hair wild, veil hanging off one ear. She was eating his breakfast, specifically his eggs, with his fork. She looked up mid-bite. "Oh, good," she said. "You're awake." Darius stared. "Who are you?" She chewed thoughtfully. "Rhea, former fiancé, current legal nightmare." She glanced down at herself. "Do you have a Tuesday?" Darius looked at the eggs, at the fork, at the woman who had just casually colonized his kitchen. "Why are you in my house?" She hopped down, opened a cupboard, and started rummaging. "Because I crossed your land while bleeding, angry, and emotionally compromised." She found bread, nodded approvingly. "And apparently that makes me yours now." Darius inhaled slowly. "When that law hasn't been used in centuries." She shrugged. "Congratulations on the update." He felt it then. The bond. Solid. Locked. Unmistakable. He hated it. "This is temporary," Darius said. "Absolutely," Rhea agreed cheerfully. "I'll be gone by Tuesday." "The law does not work that way." She paused. Turned. Smiled at him like a woman who had already flipped one world upside down today and was deciding whether to do another. "Oh," she said, "then the law's about to have a really bad week." The doors behind him slammed shut. Darius stared at her. For the first time in his reign, the Alpha King had no plan, no control, and no idea how to remove a woman who had just eaten his eggs and declared war on ancient tradition. Somewhere deep in his chest, the bond pulsed. Darius thought with growing horror, "I am never sleeping again." By noon, but the realm had decided Alpha King Darius Blackmore was a menace. By sunset, they'd added romantic menace. The banners did not help. They hung from every tower, black and silver, ancient and unmistakable, snapping proudly in the wind like they'd been waiting centuries for this exact scandal. Darius stood at his window, hands clasped behind his back, staring at them like they had personally betrayed him. "They're mating banners," he said slowly. "Yes, sire," the head counselor said. "I did not authorize mating banners." "The land did." Darius turned. "I will fight the land." "You cannot fight the land." "Watch me." Outside, horns blew again. Celebratory this time. Somewhere people were cheering. Darius closed his eyes. "This claim is temporary," he said through his teeth. "It should have received a single notice. Quietly. Discreetly. Without flags." "Well," the counselor said delicately, "the realm interpreted the banners as enthusiasm." Darius made a sound that history would later record as the exact moment his patience died. Rhea, meanwhile, was having the best day of her life. She sat on the palace steps, still in her torn wedding dress, feet tucked beneath her, sipping something fizzy she'd found in a goblet someone kept refilling. A crowd had gathered. Naturally. "Miss," a woman shouted, "were you abducted?" Rhea blinked. "Oh gods, no." The crowd leaned in. "I ran," Rhea clarified. "Very fast, tripped once, cried briefly, ended up here. 10 out of 10, do not recommend weddings." Murmurs rippled. Another voice yelled, "Did the Alpha King claim you?" Rhea considered this. "Legally," she said. "Yes." Gasps. "Romantically?" She shrugged. "What, he hasn't brought snacks yet?" The murmurs became delighted chaos. "Is he dangerous?" someone asked. Rhea laughed. Oh, extremely, if you disrespect his silence or touch his paperwork. From a nearby balcony, Darius heard cheering. He spun toward the council. Why is there cheering? She's speaking to the public. Darius went very still. She's what? By the time he reached the steps, it was too late. Rhea was mid-story. So then the elder says the dowry's non-refundable, right? She said, gesturing wildly. And I thought, wow, that's the most confidence I've ever seen in a man who deserves to be haunted. Laughter erupted. Darius stepped into view. The crowd went silent. Rhea spotted him instantly. Oh, hey, she said brightly. Everyone, this is Darius. He's legally my alpha. Emotionally, he's very tired. Someone applauded, but someone else bowed. Darius stood there, tall, terrifying, and very aware that his reputation was unraveling in real time. This interview is over, he said. Rhea squinted at him. Interview? A man with a notebook froze. This isn't an interview? Rhea looked around. Huh. She hopped to her feet. Okay, quick clarification, she announced. I was not kidnapped. I was not seduced. I did not fall mysteriously in love with a brooding warlord. Darius winced. I tripped into ancient law. It happens. Read the fine print. The crowd roared with laughter. And for the record, Rhea added, glancing back at Darius, this claim is temporary. Darius nodded sharply. Yes. So everyone should calm down, she continued, because I'll be gone by Tuesday. The land thundered, not loudly, but enough. The crowd went quiet, but Darius felt the bond pulse like a warning. Rhea blinked. Wow, she said, your land is very passive-aggressive. The head counselor leaned toward Darius and whispered, the law does not like deadlines. Darius stared at Rhea. She stared back. Something feral and delighted sparked in her eyes. Well, she said cheerfully to the crowd, guess I'm staying a little longer. The cheers were deafening. Darius realized, with cold clarity, that silence was no longer an option, and dignity had already fled the kingdom. The council's solution was simple, which is how Darius knew it would end badly. We'll stage a public appearance, the head counselor said, smoothing his robes like that might save him. Just enough to reassure the realm. No touching, Darius said flatly. Minimal touching, the counselor amended. No growling. Ceremonial growling. Darius stared at him. You are all dangerously comfortable with my humiliation. They dressed him for the occasion. Not battle armor, not council black, mating formal wear. Darius caught his reflection and felt a new emotion bloom in his chest. Regret. They added embroidery, he said quietly. It signifies devotion, the tailor whispered. I signify murder. Rhea, meanwhile, was being dressed like a political weapon. They tried dignity first. She rejected it. They tried modesty. She laughed. In the end, she walked out in a reworked version of her wedding dress, shorter, sharper, slit high enough to be a statement and a threat. She spun once. How do I look? The handmaid swallowed. Like the end of an era. Perfect. The palace gates opened. The crowd erupted. Darius stepped forward, on spine straight, expression carved from stone. Rhea waved. Not a royal wave, a friendly wave, like she was greeting neighbors at a parade. People screamed, women fainted. Someone shouted, "She's so brave." Darius leaned toward her, teeth clenched. Do not wave. She beamed brighter. Oh, relax. I'm being approachable. The bond pulsed, harder. Darius stiffened. Why did that feel like encouragement? The counselor hissed. Growl. I am not. Growl. Darius exhaled sharply and let out a low, controlled sound. The crowd lost its collective mind. Rhea's eyebrows shot up. Oh, wow, she said. Do that again. For science. The bond surged. Darius nearly choked. They walked. slowly, deliberately. Rhea matched his stride like she belonged there. Someone tossed flowers. Rhea caught them and tucked one behind Darius's ear. He froze, but the pack swooned. "You are sabotaging me," he muttered. "I'm accessorizing," she whispered back. "You looked severe." The bond pulsed again, warm, pleased, approving. Darius felt it settle deeper, like roots. "This is getting worse," he said. "Yes," Rhea agreed cheerfully. "But admit it, you're having fun." "I am not capable of fun." She glanced at him. "That's tragic. We'll work on it." A noblewoman shouted, "When is the mating?" Darius opened his mouth to shut that down. Rhea beat him to it. "Oh, we're taking it slow," she called back. "We believe in emotional connection." The silence was immediate, then absolute chaos. The bond flared. Darius stopped walking. He looked down at Rhea. "What?" he asked slowly. "Did you just do?" She tilted her head. "I raised expectations." The counselor whispered urgently, "Or the bond is responding very well." Darius stared ahead, soul leaving his body in installments. "The universe hates me," he said. Rhea grinned up at him. "Oh no," she said. "The universe is entertained." Behind them, the banners snapped triumphantly. Ahead of them, the crowd chanted her name. Inside his chest, the bond settled in like it had unpacked. Darius realized, too late, that pretending to claim a woman who treated power like a toy was the worst decision he'd ever made. And somehow, the land agreed. Ancient protocol was very clear. If a claim was active, cohabitation was mandatory. Darius stared at the text like it had personally insulted him. "No," he said. The book did not respond. The counselor cleared his throat. "It predates modern privacy standards." "I am the modern privacy standards. The law says shared quarters ensure bond stability." Darius shut the book slowly. "I will burn the law." "You can't burn the law." "I will try." Rhea moved in that afternoon, not ceremonially, aggressively. She walked into his chambers, looked around once and said, "Oh, wow, this explains everything." Darius bristled. "Explains what?" "You live like a man who's never been told no by furniture." She immediately picked up one of his chairs and rotated it. "There, now it's facing Joy." "That chair has faced north for 70 years. "And now it's facing Hope," she said, and kept moving. Within minutes, his war maps were stacked by vibes. His ceremonial dagger was declared pointy but unnecessary. His bed was stripped, remade, and repositioned diagonally. Darius watched in frozen horror. "Why is my bed crooked?" "So we don't sleep like corpses," Rhea said. "Diagonal sleeping builds character." "I do not want character." Too late. She stole his cloak, did not ask, did not apologize, wrapped it around herself like she'd always owned it. The bond purred. Darius felt it and nearly dropped dead on the spot. "You cannot take that," he said weakly. "It's warm," she replied, "and it smells like intimidation and pine." The bond pulsed harder. Darius clenched his jaw. "I am being betrayed by fabric." Night fell. Ancient law insisted on shared sleeping quarters. Darius lay stiffly on one side of the bed, hands folded like a man awaiting burial. Rhea sprawled diagonally. Her foot was on his thigh. Her elbow was in his ribs. Her hair was everywhere. You're on my side," he said. "There are no sides," she murmured. "Only vibes." She fell asleep in seconds. Darius did not. Then it started. Snoring. Not gentle snoring, confident snoring, the kind that suggested she'd earned it. Darius stared at the ceiling. Is this happening? The wolves outside the chamber door lay down. Content. One of them wagged its tail. Traitors. At dawn, Darius finally closed his eyes. That's when Rhea rolled over and flung her arm across his chest like she was claiming a territory of her own. The bond locked warmly, smug as hell. Darius stared down at her. At the woman who had invaded his home, rearranged his furniture, stolen his cloak, stolen his sleep, and somehow convinced his wolves she belonged there. One wolf poked its head in, sniffed Rhea, licked her face. She smiled in her sleep. "Good boy," she murmured. The wolf wagged harder. Darius whispered, horrified, "They like you." Rhea snored in response. Darius lay back and stared at the ceiling. "I am being replaced," he said quietly. The wolf thumped its tail in agreement. By morning, the palace staff had already adjusted. Extra pillows appeared. Her favorite tea was memorized. Someone moved his throne cushion. Darius stood in the doorway of his chambers, surveying the wreckage. "This," he said, "is not cohabitation." Rhea yawned, wrapped in his cloak, barefoot, feral, glowing with victory. "Oh, relax," she said. "Your sanity was overrated anyway." The bond pulsed. The wolves approved. Darius realized, with mounting dread, that this was no longer damage control. This was occupation. Alaric Vane arrived at noon, which told Darius everything he needed to know about the man. He didn't sneak. He didn't plead. He announced himself. Trumpets blared at the gates, loud, offended, entitled. Darius stood on the balcony, arms crossed, unimpressed. "That," he said, "is a man who has never been punched for timing." Rhea appeared beside him, sipping tea from his cup. "Oh," she said pleasantly. "That's my ex." Darius glanced at her. "You sound calm." "I've already ruined his wedding," she replied. "This is dessert." The gates opened. The man strode in dressed in ceremonial arrogance. Fine coat, polished boots, dignity stitched in place with denial. He stopped dead when he saw Rhea. She waved. "Hi," she said. "You're early." His face went red in a way that suggested lifelong emotional constipation. "You humiliated me," Alaric Vane snapped. "Dude, you backed me up like luggage," Rhea replied. "We're even." Darius felt the bond twitch. He ignored it. "I've come to retrieve what's mine," the man announced loudly. The courtyard went quiet. Rhea blinked once, then she laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh," she said, wiping her eyes. "You didn't read the updates." She turned to Darius. "May I?" Darius hesitated, then stepped back. "By all means." Rhea turned back to her ex, smile razor sharp. "You are currently standing in Alpha King territory," she said, while addressing his claimed woman, in a raised tone. The man scoffed. "This claim is a farce." Rhea nodded thoughtfully. "Possibly," she agreed. "But here's the fun part." She lifted her chin. "By sanctuary law, subsection very old, I now outrank you." The courtyard inhaled. "You don't," he snapped. Rhea snapped her fingers. Or the guards moved instantly. The ex took a step back. "You wouldn't," Rhea smiled sweetly. "Oh, honey, I already did." "Escort this man," she said clearly, "off Alpha Land. Remove him politely. If he resists, don't be polite." The guards grabbed him. He exploded. "You can't do this! I'm her intended!" Rhea leaned forward. "You were my mistake." The bond pulsed. Hard. Darius clenched his jaw. The ex struggled as he was dragged backward. "You're making a fool of yourself," he shouted at Darius. "You're letting her—" Darius met his gaze. Cold. Absolute. "Yes," Darius said. "I am." The man froze. Then he was gone, hauled through the gates and deposited outside with his pride and a very light concussion. The gates slammed shut. Silence followed. Rhea exhaled. "Wow," she said. "That felt incredible." The bond purred, and neither of them acknowledged it. Darius turned to her slowly. "You used alpha privilege." She shrugged. I borrowed it. You enjoyed it. She tilted her head. Did you? He did not answer. They stood there, side by side, watching the gates. The land hummed quietly beneath their feet. Satisfied. Somewhere behind them, a wolf howled approval. Rhea broke the silence. He deserved that. Yes, Darius said. The bond pulsed again. Neither of them looked at it. Neither of them spoke about it, but both of them felt it settle. Deeper this time, like something deciding to stay. The council called it a clarification ritual, which was a lie. It was a mating trial. They announced it at breakfast. Darius was halfway through his second cup of black tea when the head counselor said, "For appearances, of course." Rhea perked up instantly. "Oh, this sounds bad," she said brightly. "Go on." Darius set his cup down with great care. "There will be no mating," he said. "Of course not," the counselor agreed. "Just symbolic gestures." Rhea leaned forward. "How symbolic?" The counselor opened a scroll. Darius felt fear. "Procession," the counselor read. "Public proximity. Demonstration of protective instinct. Controlled pheromonal resonance. And a closing display of mutual acceptance." Silence. Rhea blinked. "That's foreplay with paperwork." Darius stood. "This meeting is over." The counselor continued reading louder. "Refusal implies rejection of the bond and destabilization of the territory." Darius froze. The land shifted. "Define destabilization," Darius asked carefully. "Riots," the counselor said. "Possibly war." Rhea grinned. "Oh," she said. "But now I'm interested." News traveled fast. By noon, vendors were selling commemorative ribbons. By evening, betting pools had formed. By sunset, 3 songs had been written, all of them inaccurate. Rhea listened to one being rehearsed and nodded thoughtfully. "I like the chorus," she said. "It lies confidently." Darius watched the preparations unfold like a man witnessing his own execution being catered. "This will ruin me," he said. Rhea patted his arm. "You were already ruined," she replied. "This is just theatrical." The day of the trial arrived. The arena overflowed. Nobles, wolves, foreign envoys pretending not to take notes. Darius entered first, tall, lethal, grim as a man walking into a prophecy he did not ask for. The crowd roared. Then Rhea appeared, still wearing his cloak. She waved. The arena lost its mind. Darius closed his eyes. "Why are you waving?" he muttered. "They love me," she whispered back. "I'm approachable." The bond pulsed. Hard. Darius swallowed. The officiant raised his hands. "Let the Alpha demonstrate protection." Darius stepped forward automatically. Rhea deliberately wandered toward the edge of the arena. He followed. She tripped. Not convincingly. Darius caught her. The crowd screamed like it had personally won something. The bond flared, bright and dangerous. Rhea looked up at him. "Oh," she said softly. "That was fast." Darius released her like the ground was on fire. "I did not mean to—" "You absolutely did," she replied. Next came pheromonal resonance. Darius glared at the officiant. "This is unnecessary." The officiant smiled nervously. "The land disagrees." Rhea inhaled. Darius felt it immediately. Warm. Pulling. Right. He hated it. He leaned closer despite himself. Rhea raised an eyebrow. "Careful," she murmured. "You're doing the thing." "I am not doing the thing." "You're definitely doing the thing." The crowd was silent. The bond thrummed like a struck chord. Somewhere, the land approved. "Final display," the officiant announced. "Mutual acceptance." Darius turned to Rhea. He expected mockery, spite, a joke. Instead, she smiled. Not sharp, not playful. Honest. "I said yes to this," she whispered, "because my ex is watching." Darius glanced at the stands. Alaric Vane looked like he might choke. Rhea added softly, "And because you didn't stop me." The bond settled. Heavy. Certain. The officiant inhaled sharply. "The trial is successful." The arena exploded. Darius stood very still. Rhea squeezed his hand. "Well," she said cheerfully, "Wes, we just made it worse." Darius stared straight ahead. "Yes," he said faintly. "Catastrophically." Above them, the banners snapped. Below them, the realm lost its collective mind, and somewhere deep beneath their feet, ancient law crossed something off a list and wrote their names in ink. The problem was not that the mating trial went well. The problem was that it went too well. By the next morning, Darius's name was being paired with words like devoted, besotted, and, most offensively, softened. Rhea read the broadsheets over breakfast. "Oh, look," she said cheerfully. "They've drawn you smiling." Darius looked at the sketch. He was not smiling. He was terrifying. "They've mistaken menace for affection," he said. Rhea sipped her tea. "Happens to me all the time." They were halfway through the courtyard when it happened. A noblewoman, over-perfumed, overdressed, underinformed, stepped directly into Rhea's path. "My lady," she said sweetly, "how charming that you're enjoying borrowed power." Rhea blinked. "Borrowed?" The woman smiled sharper. "Temporary claims are so educational." Rhea opened her mouth. She did not get to finish. Darius stepped forward. He did not think. He did not plan. He simply moved. The air dropped. The noblewoman froze as Darius's presence slammed into the space between them, cold, absolute, final. "Leave," he said. No growl, no ceremony, just command. The woman fled. The courtyard exhaled. Rhea stared at him. "Wow," she said slowly. "That was intense." Darius turned to her, startled. He stopped. "Was that not required?" "No," Rhea said quietly. "I had it handled." He nodded once. "Of course." But the bond pulsed. Strong, warm, unsatisfied. Rhea felt it. That was the problem. Later, a guard tripped near the stairs. Rhea reached for him. Darius was already there, a hand out, a barrier formed, a glare that dared gravity to try again. Rhea frowned. "You do that a lot," she said. "What?" "Protect me." Darius stiffened. "I am obligated." "No," she interrupted. "You're not." He opened his mouth. Closed it. The bond hummed. Rhea's stomach tightened. That night the palace hosted a dinner. Rhea laughed too loudly. Darius stood too close. Someone spilled wine near her chair. Darius reacted instantly, hand on the table, body between her and the mess, eyes sharp enough to cut. The room went silent. Rhea felt it then. Not the bond. The choice. He wasn't performing. He wasn't pretending. He was responding. And that terrified her. Later, in the quiet of their chambers, Rhea paced. "This was supposed to be fake," she said. Darius leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "It still is." "No," she snapped. "Don't do that. Don't lie like that." He frowned. "I am not lying." "You didn't think today," she said. "You just acted." Silence stretched. The bond pulsed once. Gentle, certain. Darius looked away. "That is inconvenient," he said carefully. Rhea laughed. Once, it broke. "That scares me more than Alaric ever did," she admitted. Darius turned back sharply. "Why?" "Because betrayal is predictable," she said. "Instinct isn't." The bond stirred. Quiet, listening. Darius said nothing. He didn't reach for her, didn't crowd her. He simply stood there, solid and present, like a guard who would stay even if dismissed. Rhea swallowed. That was worse. Later, as they lay in bed, separate sides, a diagonal truce still in effect, Rhea stared at the ceiling. "This is getting dangerous," she murmured. Darius closed his eyes. Yes, he agreed. The bond settled between them, not loud, not demanding. Just there, waiting. Neither of them slept easily, and for the first time, the pretending felt like the safest lie they had left. Rhea discovered the full extent of Alpha authority by accident. She was supposed to be attending a council meeting. She did not want to attend a council meeting. So when the head counselor said, "We'll begin when the Alpha arrives," Rhea leaned back in Darius's chair, crossed her legs, and said, "Cancelled." The room froze. Darius, standing 2 steps behind her, blinked. "I'm sorry," the counselor said. "What?" Rhea smiled pleasantly. "The meeting. Cancelled. I'm tired, he's broody, and none of you have brought snacks." The counselor turned to Darius. Darius opened his mouth. The bond pulsed. He closed it again. "The meeting is cancelled," Darius said. The council stared at him like he'd just declared the sky optional. That was the beginning of the end. By noon, 3 meetings were cancelled, on vibes. 2 nobles were escorted out for looking at her wrong. 1 trade negotiation was resolved when Rhea asked, "Why are we letting men who smell like debt talk so much?" Darius followed her like a ghost, haunting his own palace. "You can't just," he began. "I can," Rhea said, already doing it. She discovered the Alpha seal next, stamped a document she hadn't read. "What did you just approve?" Darius asked. She squinted. "Something about grain tariffs or exiling someone named Lord Henrik." Darius inhaled sharply. "Henrik is attempting a coup." Rhea nodded. "Good. I hate paperwork with ambition." The bond purred. Darius stared at the seal. "You just silenced an enemy." She shrugged. "He interrupted me." Word spread. Fast. People stopped interrupting her. People stopped questioning her. People stopped asking Darius questions entirely and went straight to Rhea. A noblewoman attempted to kneel. Rhea stepped aside. "Oh no," she said. "We're not doing that." "But—" "I don't kneel," Rhea said. "And I don't make other women do it either. Try standing. It's great for posture." Darius watched. Something in his chest twisted. This wasn't rebellion. This was recalibration. That evening, a visiting lord attempted to insult her lineage. Rhea smiled. Darius braced himself. "Interesting," she said. "You've insulted me on Alpha Land during an active claim. I'm while breathing." The lord paled. "Escort him out," she added lightly, "and revoke his speaking privileges, forever. He can write letters, quietly." The guards moved instantly. The lord vanished. Darius stared at the empty space. "You just rewrote protocol." Rhea glanced at him. "It was outdated. It's centuries old." "So were those chairs," she said. "I fixed those too." By the end of the week, the court ran smoother. The wolves were calmer. The council spoke less and listened more. And Darius's throne room felt different, alive. Rhea sat on the arm of his throne, boots dangling, cloak draped like she'd been born to it. "You're not supposed to do this," Darius said quietly. She looked at him. "Neither were you," she replied. "You just did it first." The bond pulsed. Not possessive. Proud. Darius swallowed. He had ruled with fear, what with structure, with control. Rhea ruled with audacity, and somehow terrifyingly. The kingdom was better for it. Darius leaned back and watched her argue with 3 nobles at once, smiling like she was having the time of her life. In a single week, she had bent ancient law, humiliated his enemies, and rewritten the emotional temperature of his court. He realized, with a mix of awe and dread, that this woman did not refuse to kneel, because she had never been meant to. The announcement arrived at dawn, stamped, sealed, unavoidable. Annulment window open. Rhea read it twice, then a third time, slower. "Well," she said, "that's inconveniently convenient." The The bond responded immediately, not violently, not dramatically. It simply loosened, like fingers unclenching. Rhea felt it and sat down hard on the edge of the bed. "Oh," she murmured. "And that's new." The palace reacted like a house holding its breath. Servants paused mid-step. Wolves lifted their heads. The land went quiet, not angry, not approving. Waiting. Rhea packed efficiently. No dramatics, no tears. She folded the cloak last, held it for a second too long, then set it down. Darius found her in the doorway. She looked up. For one terrifying moment, she hoped. He did not speak. He did not step forward. He simply inclined his head. Formally. Respectfully. "You're free," he said. The words landed harder than any command ever had. Rhea nodded. "Good," she replied. That was the plan. The bond pulsed weakly. Darius felt it and clenched his fists. He did not ask her to stay. He did not say, "Wait." He did not say, "I want." He stepped aside. That was worse. They walked the halls together, not touching, not pretending. Courtiers watched from doorways, confused and unsettled. Someone whispered, "Is it over?" Rhea heard. Darius heard. Neither answered. At the gates, her bags waited. Everything neat, everything final. Rhea stopped, turned to him. "You're not going to say anything," she said. It wasn't a question. Darius met her eyes. "I will not cage you," he said quietly, even with words. She laughed. Once, it cracked. "Congratulations," she said. "You win. That was the perfect answer." The bond thinned again. Rhea picked up her bag, took one step forward, then another. Each one hurt more than the last. Behind her, the land did nothing. No horns, no protests, just silence. That hurt too. Outside the gates, Rhea stopped walking. She stood there, breathing hard. This was freedom. She'd wanted this. She told herself that. Inside the palace, Darius remained where she'd left him. He did not follow. He did not chase. He stood very still and watched the space she'd occupied empty itself. The bond faded to a thin thread. Not gone. Just distant. Darius exhaled slowly. He had ruled armies, broken enemies, stared down war. None of it had ever felt like this. Rhea took another step, then stopped. Her chest tightened. Not with fear, with something worse. Choice. She didn't turn back. Not yet. But for the first time since the wedding exploded, she wasn't laughing. And for the first time since the claim began, Darius wondered if restraint was just another way to lose something forever. The first thing Darius did after Rhea left was nothing. Which was how he knew it was wrong. The second thing he did was read the law again. Every version, every footnote, every smug, sanctimonious margin scribble left by dead men who'd never had to watch the right woman walk away carrying a bag they'd packed themselves. By nightfall, he was still standing in the council chamber. Alone. Very still. Then the doors opened. The council entered. Confident, relieved, already reorganizing the future without her in it. "That concludes the matter neatly," the head counselor said. "The claim dissolves naturally. Order is restored." Darius turned. Slowly. "No," he said. "It isn't." The council blinked. "I respected the law," Darius continued calmly. "I respected her choice. I respected your procedures." He stepped forward. "And you mistook that for compliance." The temperature in the room dropped. "You will close the annulment window," a counselor said carefully. "It's unprecedented." "So was raising mating banners without my consent," Darius replied. "The law." "I am aware of the law." He gestured once. The alpha seal appeared on the table, heavy and final. "You have treated tradition like a weapon and called it order," Darius said. "I allowed it because it maintained stability." He leaned in. "It no longer does." The bond, thin, distant, twitched. Somewhere in the palace, wolves lifted their heads. "This is about her," the head counselor said. "Yes," Darius agreed. "That is inappropriate." Darius smiled. It was not kind. "You have governed this pack for centuries," he said, "and somehow never noticed what happens when people are chosen instead of owned." Silence stretched. "You will amend sanctuary law," Darius continued. "You will strip the punitive clauses. You will remove forced cohabitation. You will erase automatic escalation." "That destabilizes the hierarchy," someone snapped. Darius straightened. "Good." The council began to argue. They always did. They cited history. They cited precedent. They cited fear. Darius listened. Then he raised one hand. The room fell silent instantly. "That," he said evenly, "is what real power looks like." He turned to the doors. "Any counselor who disagrees may leave this chamber." No one moved. Outside, wolves began to gather, not summoned, choosing. By dawn, the pack knew. By midday, banners were lowered, not in retreat, but in recalibration. By evening, whispers spread. "The Alpha chose wrong once. He will not do it again." Courtiers took sides. Guards did too. Darius stood on the balcony, watching the pack realign. Not around fear, but around decision. He felt the bond stir faintly. Still there. Still listening. He closed his eyes. "Wait," he murmured. "Not to the law, not to the council. To her." For the first time since she'd arrived, Darius Blackmore stopped being careful. And somewhere beyond the gates, a woman who refused to kneel paused mid-step. Rhea did not sneak back into the capital. She announced herself. By borrowing a horse, by riding it sideways, by arriving during peak market hours. Someone screamed, someone fainted, someone yelled, "She's back!" Rhea slid off the horse, still wearing trousers she'd acquired illegally, adjusted her jacket, and said, "Okay, let's get this over with." The bells began ringing. Not alarm bells. Audience bells. The square filled in minutes. People climbed barrels. Vendors abandoned carts. Or children were lifted onto shoulders. A man sold 3 meat pies at triple price and called it destiny. Rhea climbed the steps of the council dais like she'd paid rent there. She tapped the ceremonial staff once. It echoed. "Hi," she said. "It's me. The problem." The crowd laughed nervously. Rhea smiled. "Relax. I'm not here to flip anything. Today is about closure." Somewhere in the palace, Darius stopped walking. The council scrambled. "Is this authorized?" Rhea turned. "By sanctuary law, subsection stop talking? Yes." They stopped talking. Rhea faced the crowd again. "I entered a claim by accident," she said. "Stayed because it was funny and powerful, and because some of you really needed supervision." Polite laughter. She continued. "I rewrote rules, canceled meetings, exiled a man mid-sentence. Frankly, I enjoyed myself." Cheers erupted. Rhea raised a hand. "But I am not staying because I'm claimed," she said, "or because the law decided I belong somewhere." The square went quiet. "I'm ending the claim." The realm inhaled. Darius stepped into view at the edge of the crowd. Rhea saw him. She did not falter. "I end it publicly," she said, cleanly. "On my terms." She turned to the council. "You may record this however you like," she added, "but spell my name right. History's already confused enough." She pressed her palm to the stone. The bond responded, not violently, not angrily. It listened. Rhea closed her eyes. "I choose myself," she said simply. The bond unraveled, not shattered, released. A collective gasp swept the square. Someone whispered, "Is that allowed?" The land went quiet. Then, astonishingly, it accepted it. Rhea exhaled. "Well," she said, "that was anticlimactic." Laughter broke out. Applause followed. Then cheers. Not for the Alpha, Not for tradition. For her. Darius did not move, did not interrupt, did not command. He watched a woman he could not keep stand exactly where she wanted to be. Rhea looked at him. Their eyes met across the square. She waited. He did nothing. She nodded once. That hurt worse than any fight. Good. Rhea stepped back from the dais. Thank you all, she said. This has been educational. She turned to leave. The crowd parted instinctively. Someone shouted, "What happens now?" Rhea didn't stop walking. Now? She called back. I live my life? The square erupted. Behind her, the council stared at the broken law. The pack stared at the Alpha. But Darius Blackmore realized, with brutal clarity, that she had just taken the only move he could never counter. She had chosen herself. And somehow, the realm was already choosing her too. No one expected the Alpha King to move, least of all him. The square was still buzzing, applause fading, people talking too loudly because silence felt dangerous now. Rhea was halfway down the steps when it happened. Boots on stone. Slow. Measured. Not chasing. Approaching. The sound cut through the noise like a blade. Rhea stopped. So did everyone else. Darius Blackmore walked into the open space of the square with nothing flaring, nothing summoned, no banners, no guards. Just a man in black, sleeves rolled, crown absent. Someone whispered, "What is he doing?" Another whispered, "Is this allowed?" Darius didn't answer either, or he stopped 3 paces from Rhea, looked at her, and then he knelt. Not ceremonially, not gracefully. He knelt like a man who had decided something and accepted the consequences. The sound of it, knee to stone, was thunderous. The square lost its mind. Someone gasped. Someone screamed. A noble fainted dramatically and was ignored. Rhea stared. "Absolutely not," she said. "Get up." Darius did not. "I will," he said calmly. "In a moment." She stepped forward. "No, this is not how this goes." "Rhea," he said. Her name. Just her name. The crowd went silent so fast it was unsettling. "I am not kneeling as Alpha," Darius continued. "Not as law. Not as tradition." He met her eyes. "I am kneeling because I was wrong." Rhea swallowed. Oh no. This was worse than yelling. "I let the law speak when I should have," he said. "I let silence pretend it was respect. I watched you walk away and told myself restraint was virtue." He shook his head once. It wasn't. The bond, broken, released, free, stirred faintly like it was leaning in. Rhea's voice came out thin. "You don't get to rewrite this after I chose myself." "I know," Darius said. "That's why I'm not asking you to belong to me." He inhaled. "I'm asking if I can belong to you." The square imploded. Someone dropped a basket. Someone sobbed openly. The wolves sat down like they were watching theater. Rhea laughed. It burst out of her, sharp, startled, a little hysterical. "You absolute menace," she said. "You couldn't have done this privately?" Darius's mouth twitched. "I considered it." "And?" "I was afraid you'd say no faster." She stared at him, then pressed her hands to her face. "And this is wildly unfair," she said. "I just gave a speech." "I know. I ended a claim. Yes. I chose myself. And I chose you," he said gently. "After." She dropped her hands. He was still kneeling, still waiting, still not demanding. That was the worst part. Rhea paced, once, twice. The crowd held its breath. "Say I stay," she said. "Say I choose you. What happens then?" Darius didn't hesitate. "Nothing," he said. "That you don't want." She stopped. "That's a terrible sales pitch." "I am not selling," he replied. "I am offering." She looked at him for a long moment, then sighed. "Get up," she said. Darius rose immediately. She poked his chest. "1. No laws," he nodded. 2, no banners. He nodded again. 3, if I ever feel owned, cornered, or managed, I will stand down, he said. Publicly. And immediately. She narrowed her eyes. You won't like that. I already don't, he said honestly. She laughed again, this time softer. Then she did the one thing no one expected. She reached out, took his hand. The crowd erupted. Rhea leaned in and said quietly, I'm staying. Not because you knelt. Darius tilted his head. Why then? Because you waited, she said, and because you asked like a man, not a king. The bond, free, chosen, uncommanded, clicked into place, not locking, aligning. The land exhaled, the wolves howled, and somewhere in the realm's history books, a scribe crossed out claimed and wrote, chose. Rhea did not become queen quietly. The realm tried. The realm failed. The announcement was meant to be tasteful. It lasted 4 seconds. The head counselor cleared his throat and said, Yours we are pleased to announce. Rhea stole the ceremonial horn and blew it. Hard. The note came out wrong. Several nobles flinched. One wolf howled in harmony. Hi, Rhea said. Before this turns into another banner situation, I'd like to establish terms. Darius stood beside her, hands clasped, expression unreadable. He already knew. First, Rhea said, climbing onto the throne and sitting sideways. This stays mine. A counselor choked. Darius nodded. Yes. Second, she continued, yanking Darius's cloak off his shoulders and draping it around herself like a victory flag. This stays stolen. Yes, Darius said again. Third, she said, leaning forward, elbows on knees, smile feral. I do not kneel, curtsy, bow, or apologize for tone. The council inhaled. Darius smiled. I like her tone. The realm waited for something terrible to happen. It didn't. Instead, meetings got shorter, traditions got footnotes. Men who liked hearing themselves talk stopped being invited. Women stopped asking permission for things they were already doing. Rhea ran the palace like a polite riot. She sat on the throne with her boots up. She kicked out 3 nobles before lunch. She instituted a snack policy. This is an empire, a counselor protested. Then feed it, Rhea replied. Darius watched the transformation like a man witnessing weather. Powerful, unstoppable, absolutely his fault. The wolves adored her. She named them, all of them. Even the terrifying ones, especially the terrifying ones. Darius found out when she shouted, No, Mauler, bad! And the massive wolf immediately lay down and wagged. Course, I've ruled for 20 years, Darius said faintly. They've never listened to me like that. Rhea shrugged. I say please. The marriage happened eventually, not because of tradition, because Rhea got bored. Let's get married, she said one afternoon, flipping through ledgers. It'll annoy people. The ceremony was short. The vows were edited. When asked if she accepted him as Alpha, Rhea said, I accept him as Darius. When asked if he accepted her authority, Darius said, enthusiastically. Someone fainted. On her first official day as queen, Rhea addressed the realm. I am not here to be perfect, she said. I am not here to be gentle. I am not here to be owned. Thunder rolled, not threatening, applauding. I am here, she continued, because I stayed, on purpose, out of spite. The crowd roared. That night, Darius found her sitting on the throne alone, cloak pooled around her feet. You kept everything, he said. She looked up. I warned you. I wouldn't have it any other way, he replied. She smiled. The land settled. The bond, chosen, mutual, unruly, hummed contentedly. Somewhere deep in the realm's laws, a clause quietly rewrote itself. This one stays. 3 months later, a counselor asked carefully, Your Majesty, what happens if someone challenges the queen? Rhea leaned back, grinned, and said, Oh, that's adorable. Darius cracked his knuckles. The wolves sat up. The realm learned very quickly. She was not claimed. She was not kept. She stayed. The end.